Make NyraBets your home for online horse racing and betting. Use NyraBets to bet on live horse racing from around the world. Bet from anywhere, anytime using your computer or mobile device. Earn valuable reward points on bets. Play in our exclusive promotions and earn cash rebates. Sign up at NyraBets.com and start earning your sign-up bonus today. Get a $200 new member sign-up bonus to bet the Belmont. NyraBets, the official betting site for the Belmont Stakes.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Belmont Weekend. Maggie Wolfendale alongside Richard Migliore, and what a glorious and action-packed Belmont Racing Festival we have for everybody, and it all concludes on Saturday, Mig, with 6 Grade 1s. Looking forward to that, and capped off with the Belmont, and looking forward to that 12-horse field. But as you were watching this video, don't forget we are brought to you by NyraBets, and if you sign up today, you have that 10% sign-up bonus with the promo code Belmont. So, Mig, let's jump right into it. The Grade 2 Woody Stevens is where we'll begin. It goes as race number 7 on the card, and looking at it, we have a pretty full field here, and we'll check out the horses that come out of the the horse, the winner. That's Recruiting Ready.
Recruiting Ready, very fast horse. We got to see him in Saratoga last summer when he was disqualified in the Saratoga Special from second. He's fast. He seems to me a horse that's a little bit more settled than he was when he was a 2-year-old. He still flaunts that speed. And I think it's interesting, Maggie. We have almost 2 divisions of 3-year-olds now. You have the ones going long, that'll be in the Belmont, and then the ones going short. So you have the Woody Stevens certainly pointing forward towards the King's Bishop. One question about Recruiting Ready for me.
What's
7 furlongs.
7 furlongs. He's a little bit almost too fast for his own good for the 7/8. Now, he is riding a 3-race win streak in here, and people do like to see those ones back-to-back.
Well, and he's very talented. I just question his ability to get that other furlong. Although, me looking at this, I think he controls the race. There's other speed, but I think he's the speed of the speed.
He is just that fast. Well, horses that are hoping that maybe another one goes with him and softens him up a bit includes your Pat Day Mile winner. That is Wild Shot in here. 4-trainer Rusty Arnold. He won impressively, too, Meg. Do you think, though, it was a kind of culmination of the track that benefited his big win?
Well, you know, I think he did kind of run over the top of the ground there. It was a wet, fast surface. They seal it very tight at Churchill Downs, and horses really kind of bounce along. And you could see, I mean, he's just loving it. He really's getting over the ground the way you'd like to see one. I like the turn back for him, though. I mean, he's fast enough to put himself in the race, so he's not going to be far away from Recruiting Ready, and maybe that furlong less is going to intensify his finish.
I agree with you there. I mean, he's a horse that I don't think is going to be caught out if they are going too fast. I don't think he's going to be that far out of it because he has flashed some early pace at least.
Well, and, you know, just the fact that he showed the ability to just sit just off a very fast pace. I mean, he was a length and a half away, so it's not like he was raiding per se, but I think he's going to find himself in a similar circumstance in the Woody Stevens.
All right, a horse who has done all of his running, at least his first 2 starts here in New York, is Long Haul Bay, the New York bred who is undefeated. He did convincingly win our Grade 3 Bayshore, but we haven't seen him since early April. Does that layoff put any questions in your mind, Meg?
Well, you know, we got to go with the Chad Brown factor here. I mean, he seems to have horses ready to run well off a layoff. So I think we can expect him to be pretty fit. He's a little light on seasoning, only 2 races. But, boy, he made a big jump up from a state-bred, New York state-bred maiden race to the Bayshore. And he actually, even though he didn't run as fast a figure, to me, he answered more questions in this race.
I do agree with you, but I still question the overall quality of that Bayshore. I think he's facing a deeper field here. They all have to get around the morning line favorite. That's American Anthem, who does come in here for trainer Bob Baffert off that win in the La Brea.
Yeah, and obviously
Las
Baffert.
Brera, sorry.
Well, but you know, yeah. Well, the La Brea is when they run for Phillies. Las Brera is 7 furlongs out there. You have to respect the fact that Baffert's shipping him across the country. And then you've got horses turning back like the 11 Petrov, who I've always thought wanted to be more of a sprinter type.
All right, that one coming in for trainer Ron Moquette. But let's jump towards those 3-year-old fillies. In race 4, it is the Grade 1 Acorn Mig. And once again, a pretty interesting matchup. We do see the Bob Baffert, 2-1 morning line favorite, and Abel Tasman. Now, we'll check out Abel Tasman as we look at them going around the final turn of the Kentucky Oaks. She's wide, but she does benefit from that pace collapse between Paradise Woods and Miss Sky Warrior.
Yeah, I think she just was very comfortable when she got out in the clear. No more kickback in her face. They went very, very fast for a 1.8 race, 46-1, basically cooked the 2 on the front end. And as she was getting an unencumbered run, albeit wide, Salty was having to search and kind of peck for room and get stopped at critical junctures. I think Salty's a little bit quicker. I like her the one turn. Out of the 2, I think Abel Tasman will take more money. My money's going to be on Salty.
I'm completely with you there. I think Salty is a very talented filly. I think she ran into trouble, as you alluded to, in this Kentucky Oaks. And both of them, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to have a dry, fast track. And that might even the score a little bit with them. Now, kind of a new shooter, if you will, but not necessarily new to us here in New York, is number 7, Sweet Loretta, for trainer Todd Pletcher. She came back off of that disappointing effort in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies and backed it up with the Beaumont. Do you think she was facing a weaker field here, though?
Yeah, I think the field might have been slightly suspect. I liked some of the things I've seen. I see a bit of a more mature filly. She didn't grow up a lot, per se, but I just like the way she handled herself. She did work out a great trip, and I do think she's a true one-turn horse. So I think the Acorn will suit her in that sense.
Exactly. I agree with you so much with that. A one-turn mile should be great for Sweet Loretta, who really did, as far as from a speed buyer, she stepped up her game tremendously. To a 90 last time out in that Beaumont. Next, we'll move on to race number 5. It is the Grade 1 Ogden Phipps, and we have the superstar here in the mix. We are so lucky that Jerry Hollendorfer and Fox Hill Farms have opted to bring champion Songbird for her first race back as a 4-year-old here to New York.
I'm excited to see the 4-year-old version of Songbird.
The 3-year-old version was tremendous.
Yeah, exactly. She's a superstar. We're really very fortunate as fans, not just people covering racing, to get to see this filly. And in some respects, I guess it's a little bit of a rematch with her and Karina Mia.
It is. Karina Mia, throughout their 3-year-old campaigns, took it to Songbird as much as she possibly could. You look back at the Cotillion, you look back at the CCA Oaks, and she was the one that really tried to crack the shell of Songbird, but just wasn't quite able to. I do think Karina Mia, though, is just a better horse going a bit shorter. I
agree with you. I think she's a bit better going shorter. I just thought it was interesting. At least she has a race under her belt. So if she's ever going to be vulnerable, Songbird, it might be this day, although Jerry Hollendorfer is another trainer who knows how to get horses fit.
And my husband actually back at the gate, Tom Morley, watching Songbird school at the gate this morning. She looked tremendous. He sent me a video. But we also have the blue-collared kind of horse in here, and that's our New York bred Highway Star. She comes off of 2-race win streak in Graded Stakes company. This will be her first crack at a Grade 1, but this is her ruffian win, Mig. And granted, it was a downpour, but she can run over anything. She just gets it done.
You got to respect this filly. 7 wins from 10 starts. 1 bad effort on the turf, 1 bad effort on the inner track, but really a terrific resume she's put together. Here she is outgaming her stablemate Barra Gold, who is also in this race. And if Barra Gold was ever going to beat her, I think it was this day, because Barra Gold excels on sloppy tracks.
Right.
This filly's an overachiever, and I respect her.
She's one of my favorites. Obviously, I root for Songbird, but I'm going to go with that Highway Star exacta with Songbird. Next, we'll move on to the Woodford Reserve Manhattan, as that is the race right before the Belmont Stakes, going as race number 10 in here, Meg, for the older turf horses. And we will check out some talented ones coming in here off of the Turf Classic down there at Churchill Downs. Davisi Darrow, he is the king of the Churchill Downs turf course. What do you think about him shipping up here?
Well, there's sand-based turf courses in Kentucky, so the form that you see at Keeneland and Churchill Downs on the grass doesn't always translate as well to New York. And we've seen it the opposite. Horses that have run poorly there. Most recently was at Oscar Performance.
Right, and he just relishes the New York turf courses.
Different footing.
Right.
It's just a lot looser. So I don't know that you're going to get the same Diversadero that you saw here, although he did win the Pennine Ridge here last year. I just wonder if he's as good in New York.
Now, one that just kind of seems to lose by a little less than a length is Beach Patrol. We'll see if he can turn the tables, as Chad Brown looks to win this race for the 4th year in a row, I believe. So Chad Brown very, very present in this Manhattan, as he'll also send out Wake Forest as well as Time Test. But the other horse in here is World Approval here, Meg, for trainer Mark Cassie. Now, he'll look to control things towards the front end as we watch him take the Dixie, and he was good down at Pimlico.
He was very good. He caught a turf with some give in it. It's not going to get the same give here, but not that he needs that. He's performed well on a firm turf as well. Interesting, I think Beach Patrol and World Approval could compromise each other. I think they have similar styles. Beach Patrol likes a fight. You know, he just seems like a horse that wants to get in that kind of mixed-up dogfight. World Approval is a little bit different. He likes to kind of get into that big galloping kind of way of going. It's going to be interesting to see tactics here.
And also talking about turf courses, you know that World Approval likes a little more give, and it seems as though Beach Patrol would prefer it a little more firm. So it looks like Beach Patrol might get it.
But the 1.25 miles could be the equalizer, too.
Correct. Yeah. We'll see if we see a closer or if it's controlled towards the front end. Met Mile, the Mohegan Sun. Met Mile, always a good one as we, flashing back to last year for Austin, one of the biggest performances that we saw in 2016. We will check out a very, very sloppy track down at Churchill Downs, in the Churchill Downs Stakes here with Awesome Slew, Tom's Ready, and Denman's Call. If anything, I thought Tom's Ready had the most compromising trip.
I would agree with that for sure. Awesome Slew just missed, rallying down the center of the racetrack, lost a tremendous amount of ground. Denman's Call, it's interesting. He did catch slop before, and he was terrible in the Santa Anita Derby when he caught slop. Now, was that because of the distance? Was it because of the slop? Because he ran okay here, but I don't think he ran his A effort. I think he gets a fast track, he's better.
I know he is a bit of an in and outer. He kind of comes with a big performance all of a sudden as you look back in that triple bend, the grade 1 that he took at Santa Anita. So he's interesting. I think he's a horse with some talent. He just needs things to kind of go his own way.
I think he needs things to go his own way, and I also question, and I know we're talking about 220 yards here, but I just wonder if the mile's stretching him to his outer limits. I think he's more of a 7/8 to 6.5 kind of horse.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bob Baffert comes loaded for bear for this Belmont Stakes Racing Festival this weekend, and More Spirit, 5-2 on the morning line. It comes in here off of a big win at Lone Star Park in the Steve Sexton Mile, and 107 buyer speed figure. He's posted triple digits in his last 3, Meg.
And again, Bob Baffert's not shipping across the country just to be a part of the Belmont Stakes Festival. He believes this horse belongs.
Yeah.
And he's certainly run fast enough in this edition of the Met Mile to be very competitive. I have a question for you. Do you think he's a better two-turn type horse? Is a one-turn going to matter?
Right. It would feel that way if you look through his form. I mean, his kind of recent bad race, I should say, did come in late last year going 7/8 in the grade 1 Malibu. I mean, but then again, 1.25 miles seems to be too far. So he seems like he's one of those two-turn Mount 16th horses, which is, his best kind of running. But it's a completely different configuration here at Belmont. Does that, kind of hurt him?
I just, that's the only question I have about him. I think talent-wise he stacks up well. But, he did have excuses in the Malibu. He got a little bit ranked down the backside, kind of ran up on heels. Mike Smith had to tap on the brakes, check a little bit. He wasn't beaten badly, but that's my concern, the one turn as opposed to maybe he's just a better two-turn type horse.
Now we'll also see Sharp Azteca, who will try to come back and rebound off of the Godolphin Mile, where he ran respectably. He ran third to Second Summer that day, but he was very good down at Gulfstream Park. We're watching the Gulfstream Park handicap, and a horse that, you can't really scoff at his form. The only thing is probably arguably his worst race did come here in New York, and Jorge Navarro not that successful here in New York.
Well, and that's the factor. If this Sharp Azteca shows up, he's going to take a lot of catching because he's the speed of the speed, but we haven't seen these performances from Jorge Navarro's horses in New York. So for me, as much as I think this horse is talented enough to do it, I just got to see his trainer have his horses perform that well in New York before I can jump on board.
Same here, as we will turn our attention to the main event. It's the Belmont Stakes. It's the Naira Bets Belmont Stakes, grade 1, 1.5 miles. The true test of the Triple Crown sequence. We don't get the Derby winner. We do not get the Preakness winner, but we have a pretty interesting field, as we will check out some horses who opted to skip the Preakness out of the Derby. Then again, looking at Lee, he's competed in all three.
Yeah, looking at Lee's durable. His best race was the Kentucky Derby, where he got an incredibly flawless ride from Corey Lannery. He ran okay in the Preakness. He's a deep closer type. Is he going to be as far out the back in the Belmont? That's going to be interesting to see. Irish War Cry, I know a lot's being made of him being 4 wide throughout, and I'm sure it didn't help his cause, but did that cause him to get beat 16 lengths there?
I also feel like, Raj felt as though he was on a horse who was kind of pretty much done, and he also wrapped up on him a bit. So I feel as though some of the other horses, most of the field kind of just ran on by him. And he's a horse, talk about an all or nothing. He really kind of is. Mm-hmm. He does need things to go his own way. And you could, if you want to find excuses for him, the track in the Fountain of Youth, it was that dry cuppy type of surface, and going to the Derby, it was wet fast. It was pretty darn wet. He'll hopefully get a fast track, and we'll see the true Irish War Cry.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get the kind of trip that he's going to favor, kind of stalking from the outside, not be far away, not get covered up. And then you've got Tappert also, who I think has a big chance to rebound. I think he's going to want every bit of the mile and a half.
I think of the horses coming out of the Derby into the Belmont, it's Tappert and Gormley are the two that you want.
Okay, and Gormley shut down pretty badly there, but that was the first time he ever hooked that kind of racetrack
too. Exactly. Yeah. He was part of that whole menagerie at the start of the race, where everybody kind of came together at the auxiliary gate with that little gap from the main gate, and he was wide in the first turn. He kind of rushed up to get behind the early leaders. Yep. And while he had a little bit of run towards the mid part of the race, coming around the clubhouse turn, he did kind of stop. And I think Gormley, he's not going to have to deal with the big field, obviously. I think that's a big, factor in a lot of these horses, that they're not going to have to deal with all that traffic that they encounter in the Derby.
Well, that's what you hope for, that they get a chance. They get a clean run, and the best horse has his opportunity to win. I know you like Gormley. Looking into his pedigree, I think he's got a pedigree that actually really says the mile and a half should be fine. Now, that isn't always the deciding or determining factor, but I was by the barn this morning, took him to John Sheriff's. He looks good, so I would never try to talk you off him.
All right, I'm going to try with Gormley, but a horse that you like comes out of the Preakness. That is Senior Investment for trainer Kenny Big Peak. Now, talk about why you like Senior Investment and why you think he'll be effective at the mile and a half distance here at the Belmont.
Well, he doesn't have a pedigree that says he'll get a mile and a half, so that's strike one. The fact that I like him is probably strike two. But I think he's a horse that struggles to run around turns. He seems to lose position around turns.
Mm-hmm.
And
he does.
And I think Belmont Park, with a long kind of sweeping turn, won't affect him as negatively. At least that's my hope. I think, you lose the Preakness winner and the Preakness runner-up. He was the one running on at the end. I think he's a decent price and a trainer that's won the Belmont before with a big priced horse.
Right.
So I'm taking a bit of a shot, but I do think this horse. And the other factor, too, is I have watched him train here, and I think he gets over Belmont's sandier surface really well.
And I think that's a big, factor with these horses. They come in and they train over the surface that they're going to run on, and one that has been doing that, and one that Senior Investment will hope go with a horse like Meantime is Epicaris for the Japanese contingency. And Epicaris, besides the narrow loss in the UAE Derby, as we're checking out his Hyacinth win, he seems a horse that, as you've said, just travels in the bridle and just is able to go fast for a sustained amount of time.
Yeah, he's here just, continually traveling in the bridle. His rider here is making sure he's got enough room to get up the inside, but never any panic, supreme confidence. You could see the kickback. You want to talk about Sandy. Well, we call this Big Sandy. That's Bigger Sandy. I just think this horse is very talented. We think about Lonnie last year, finished third in the Belmont, albeit a different trip to get here. He ran in the Derby, the Preakness, and maybe got fitter as he went. This horse hasn't run since the UAE Derby back in March. But I think he'll stay the mile and a half. I think he's talented. He's got speed, and I think you want to be up close in the Belmont. He's interesting. I think he's a better horse than Lonnie. Lonnie was third.
That's true. Lonnie was third. We'll see what Epicaris brings. They are running for that $1 million bonus coming in from out of the country. But big bonus if you play that late pick 4. It starts in race number 8, $1.5 million guaranteed in the pool for the Belmont Stakes. Late pick 4. It's this Saturday. Make sure you come out. Make sure you play that pick 4. I know, hopefully, Meg and I gave you a little bit of insight into several of those races, and what a great day we have on tap.
Well, you know, I like salty in the Acorn. There's a lot of salty races. If you're a racing fan, this is where you want to be.
And maybe one that you don't necessarily wager on, but one you're a fan of, Songbird in the Ogden Phipps. Looking forward to seeing her. Don't forget, $200 sign-up bonus if you use promo code Belmont. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining the Mig and I on this Belmont Stakes preview show.